Rabbi Kiva kashas, except for 3. So someone told him back, oh, that means you understood 3 of Rabbi Kiva kashas. Let's get started. We were in the middle of that Gag Gemara, and we're learning all about the importance of Chazara and the importance of memory aids. So that's what we're going to be learning more about today. So let's get started. We're up to the 2 dots, halfway down on Nun Dalet Amud Aleph. And the last thing we learned was the 3 words, Netzach, Selah, and Voed, mean forever. Zok Tehillah Gemara, Amar Balozer, Ma'idich Siv. It says in the Novi, V'anokim L'garger Secha. They'll be like a necklace to your neck. Im Mesim Odom Atzma Ke'enek Zeh. Shirach Ala Tzavor. If someone treats himself like a necklace that's loose around the neck, meaning v'nira v'enyanira, sometimes it's seen, and sometimes it's blocked by his chin. So it's seen sometimes, but not all the time. Then Talmudim is kain b'yodei, meaning if a person's not always out there in the world, but he's hunkered down, sitting and learning, then his learning will stay with him. But if he's always running around and he's never settled down to focus on his learning, then ein Talmudoi miskayim b'yodei. And at the end of the Haggadah, we're going to see that merchants and peddlers, they're because they're moving around all the time. That's what they do. Zok to Gemara. V'amar Belozer, Ma'idich Siv, Lechyoi, his jaw, Ka'arugas haboisim, is like a row of spices growing. Im mesim odom atzmai ka'arugazu, shakoil doshim bo. If someone makes himself like a row in a field where everyone just steps on, in other words, he's not a balgaiva, uchaboisim zeh, and like spices, shakoil mispaskim bo, that spices make other things smell good, taste good. So too, if he's teaching people Torah and helping them enhance their Torah learning, then Talmudim Miskayim, then his learning will stay with him. Imlav ain't Talmudim Miskayim, if not, no. And we actually learned yesterday that the David HaMelech used to harbor and teach people things, and that's why by David he was zoichet that he passed on the little bit of Hilchza. V'Omer Rabbi Elazar, Ma'idich of Luchis Evan. Rojan gave us luchos of stone. If someone makes his jaws like a stone, meaning she'ein nimchas, meaning he never gets beaten down, he's always chazering it, and his resolve and his focus is rock solid, then Talmudim is kain b'yodei. Imlav ein Talmudim is kain b'yodei. From Rabbi Elazar, Ma'idich Siv, Choros ala luchos. The words were engraved into the luchos. So had the first luchos not have broken, it would have been churus. The Torah would have been so engraved in ourselves that we would never have forgotten. Because of the fact that we have the Torah, no nation can rule over us. And we modify its meaning and we say, by us accepting the Torah and learning the Torah, it makes us into Ben Torah. People would argue that when they look at the complaints that people have on the Haredi community in Israel, where the vast majority of cases are coming from, is that we're Cheres, we're free of all the rules. We could do whatever we want. Amar Masna, Ma'idich Siv, Umi Midbar Matana. So we learn from there that Mason Odom Atzma Kemidbar Zeh, Shakoil Doshim Boy, if we treat ourselves like a midbar, meaning we're anovim and we let people walk over us, meaning we're not makbid on our covet, then Talmudim is kain b'yodei. In lav, but if someone holds himself high, in Talmudim is kain b'yodei. Rav Barei, the Rabbi Yosy Parchama, I'm going to shut off my video because I see that my internet's weak. So I'm going to save some bandwidth. Rabbi Barit Rabbi Yosef Barchama Havale Milsa to Rabbi Yosef Badeh. Rabbi Yosef had hakpada on him. Rabbi Yosef had hakpada on Rabbi. On Rava. I'm sorry, Rava Barit Rabbi Yosef Barchama. Rabbi Yosef had a hakpada on him, and he wanted to somehow make up with him. He muta malia mikapuri. When Eruvin Kippur came, Omar Rava said, "Ezel ba'faisi. Let me go be mafaisim." Also he went. Ashkechei l'shami. When Rava arrived at Rabbi Yosef's house, Rava found that Rabbi Yosef's shamus was in the middle of preparing the kamazug lekaza. He was preparing a glass of wine, a kos of wine for Rabbi Yosef, and the way they would prepare it is they would dilute it with water. Omer havli ve'imzegayana. Give it to me. Let me prepare the wine for him. Yohevle. So the shamus says, fine. Mosge kiditame. When Rabbi Yosef tasted it, he was able to taste the precision with which Rava mixed the wine, and he knew it wasn't his shamus who did it. Amar domi hai mizga lemeziga the Rava buried Rabbi Yosef. Now we know Rabbi Yosef Barchama. We knew Rabbi Yosef was not able to see, so he wasn't able to see Rava Bar Yosef there. However, when he tasted the wine, it was immediately apparent to him that the precision with which this wine was mixed could have only been done by. So Rava admitted it. Amalei Anahu, guilty as charged. It is me. Amalei. So they didn't discuss whatever that hakpada was, but what the Yosef told Rava is like Tazav Akarach. Don't sit down. Adamar Frishli Hanikroy until you can explain to me the meaning of the following psukim. Ma'idechsev u'mimidbar matana u'mimatana nachliel u'minachliel bamois u'mibamois hagai. So you're going higher and higher, and then after the mountain, you go fall down into the valley. Amalei, he said, Im adam mesim atwa kidbid marzeh shakal doshaboy, then Torah nitnaloi, then Torah nitnaloi b'matana. Then Torah will be given to him as a matana if someone acts humble. Once he gets it, the matana from the Rebbeinu Shalom, nachla keil, the Rebbeinu Shalom gives it to him permanently as a nachla. Shenemer u'mimatana nachlil. Now he's building from there. The chimit shenachlu keil. Once the Rebbeinu Shalom gave him a nachla, gave him his Torah permanently. That's wonderful. Oila legdula now will become a great person. Shenemar u'minachlil bamis. That's how someone becomes great, is by learning and owning Torah. But what if it gets to his head, or in the Gemara, because it gets to his heart, he thinks he's a groser knacker, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashpiloi. Hashem puts him right back down. From all the way up there, you can fall down into the valley. What if someone is a Talmud Chacham, and he becomes a Balgaiva, and because that he loses it all, and then he does tshuva and he becomes an onav again? Not all is lost. A different Yosy. Anyone who's too high, the Rebbeinu Shalom will bring him back up. I'm sorry, kol gei means low. Someone who's low down in the valley, Yosy HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yoshva. Chayosh means the Chayosh will be there. Tochin b'tevoscha la'oni yalakim. The Rebbeinu Shalom, with your goodness, will prepare for a poor person. Zok more, we're going to dash from this passage. Im odem mesim atzmai kechaya zu, like a chaya. What does a chaya do? It captures food in the wild and it eats it right there. The ikada amri shamasreches vaycheles. If you see a lion grab its prey, it doesn't wash it, it doesn't skin it, it just eats it alive, it eats it right there. So he's menavel himself to get what he needs. Then Talmudei miskayim biyodei. Lav ain't Talmudei miskayim biyodei. So basically, if you just grab it, if a person is willing to make himself low for it and get himself dirty and not makbid on what he wears, and because he's an onav, then he'll have Torah. But if not, he won't. Rashi doesn't like this pshat because Rashi says we know that Talmidei Chachamim were always makbid on how they dressed. So Rashi means for a Torah, it doesn't mean getting dirty. It means if someone When he learns something, right away he chazes it. He reshes by chelos, and he'll harv it to learn. Then it's miskayin biyadei. Let's just see Rashi because it's interesting how Rashi says it. Harigas shudorsa by chelos miyad l'achar harigasa. Right after a lion kills its prey, sheinin makbid al tanugim. It doesn't need special ways to prepare it. It doesn't need a gourmet chef. It eats it without any trimmings. So Misrech petit, it gets dirty. So Rashi at first says, he's not a bagaiva. To be super picky not to eat if it's not cooked just right. It's referring not to the person's hakpada and what type of food he eats, rather it's referring to kachtam chochem mechazer al talmudoi miyad keshemekabel miraboi. What does it mean? It means as soon as he learns something, he chazers it over. Mesreches melavel atzmel de reserve. He's menavel, meaning he doesn't care about anything other than chazering his Torah. So Rashi loshen zeh near be'enai. I like this shot better. You know why? Because to say that Talmud Chacham isn't not with on cleanliness, on neatness, on seder, that doesn't sit well with me, so Rashi. If you should be become the kedula b'kavod, b'mabushayim, d'chsiv l'sane ha'mavas. So you on things for Talmud Chacham. So therefore, Rashi wants to learn the nivel over here. And the ris over here is referring to someone's attitude to chazer and grab as much Torah as possible. Zok to Gemara, if a person is Moshe Nevesh for Torah, then the Kodesh Baruch Hu oiseloi suda ba'atzmoi. Hashem Himself prepares the meal. Shenemer tochain b'tuvaschoi la'ani alakim. So now we look at the whole pasuk. Chaysecha yashum ba. If you act like a chaya, then the Rebbeinu Shalom will take care of us and prepare for us whatever we need. One who watches and guards the fig tree, he'll be zoicha to eat its pears. Why are we comparing the Torah to a fig tree? Just like this fig tree. And Rashi tells us that all figs don't ripen at the same time and are harvested at the same time. Rather, the figs are ready one by one. So whenever you're looking around the tree, you're always going to find a fig that is just perfect now to be picked. So the Torah calls man sh'adam hayga behen. Anytime you're hard of it in learning, much of the time you're going to extract something gishmak out of it. Every time you learn, you get a new machshava, you get a new idea, and you get a deeper understanding of the Torah. Omer Reb Shmuel ben Nachmani, my dechsiv, ayeles ahavim, v'yalas chen, my beloved Ayala, and someone who portrays chen, and there's more to the puzzle. The Gemara is going to end up darshaning more than these words. So let's read it. Ayeles ahavim, v'yalas chen, da'adeh yervucha. Her breasts will satisfy you, quench your thirst, and from your love for her, you're going to go crazy. You'll do crazy things to get to her. Why is the Torah compared to Yelis? Ma Yela, just like a Yela, Rachmotzar, its womb is narrow, and therefore the Chaviv al Boila Kal Shah B'Shah Kishar Rishayna, and therefore its boil, its mate wants to be with it all the time. Af divrei Torah, so too divrei Torah, chavivin alamdein kol shah v'shah kishar rishona. So too Torah is so geschmack that someone who learns it, that any time he learns it, he has the same geschmack in it as the first time he learned it. The yalas chen, shemalas chen alamdeo, it brings chen to those who learn Torah. And the decha yervucha b'chalais lama nimshlu divrei Torah kedad. Why is Torah compared to a breast? Madad zeh kol zman shehatinuk mimashmish boy moitz Anytime the child it's going to find milk. After retire, calls man chadam hoigeben moitze ben tam. You can always squeeze out something good from the Torah. Ba'avosa tishka tamid, you're going crazy over the love for it. Kagoin Rabbi Elazar ben Pedas, this person who could personify this idea of literally going crazy to learn Torah is Rabbi Elazar ben Pedas. Omer Lav Rabbi Elazar ben Pedas. He would sometimes be orangutan learning in the lower market of Tipuri, and he forgot his jacket. He left his jacket in the Shukei Elyon of Tipuri. He was so orangutan that he didn't even realize that he left his jacket. He might get stolen. No, it wouldn't get stolen. Somebody wanted to steal his jacket. Rabbi Elazar ben Pesach's jacket that he left in the Shukei Elyon. He found a dangerous serpent on the jacket that was clearly guarding it from any person who would take it, so that it would be there waiting for Rabbi Elazar ben Pesach when he got back. Tana devei Rabbana, those who ride white mules, Yoshvei Almudin, they sit with Mishpat, and they travel the way. Sichoy should speak. What does it mean? So we darshan. Roich ve'asaynos, edul talmidei chachamim, shemahalchem me'ir le'ir, u'memedina le'medina lilmod Torah. Roich ve'asaynos are talmidim who are going to learn Torah, and they'll travel from yeshiva to yeshiva to learn as much Torah as possible. Schurais, why were they called white? The white donkeys. She'oisen oisa ketzarayim. They learn Torah so geschmack, they make it lichtig. They open up our eyes to understand and reveal all the hidden secrets in Torah. Yoshvi al-Madin, what does that mean? Shedon dinamis lamitai. They paskin completely objectively and truthfully. V'hoilche, so it's, the pasuk says v'hoilche al derech sichai. So v'hoilche elu balei mikra, those who learn Chavish Chumash Torah Navi. Al derech elu balei mishnah, those who learn Torah Shalapeh. Sichai. Sichu elu balatam. These are the balatam, but shekol sichason divrei Torah. All of their speaking is divrei Torah. Amar b'shizli mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. My dichsiv lo yachrech remiyat tzedai lo yichya v'lo yarech yomim. So let's see this pasuk inside. It says over here. Lo yachrech remiyat tzedai. A crooked, corrupt hunter will not be able to roast what he catches. No, she won't be able to sustain it with him. So let's see what the pasuk says. Haramai. It's talking about Haramai. In other words, someone who's a side. Where does it? He says to bring the pasuk up. He says Tzedai v'hanadim yakarot. So it says over here, it says lo yecher rumi tzedai, lo yichya v'lo yarech yomim tzayid haramai. That means someone who's a ramai, someone who's dishonest, even when he ends up getting some benefit, he makes some money, it's not going to stick with him, and it's not going to remain with him. So if someone acquires whatever he does in a non-honest fashion. But Reb Sheshes darshened it verkehrt, and he darshened it to show how a Talmid Chacham has to grab every drop of Torah. Reb Sheshes Amar verkehrt, tzayid Ram Yachrech, and it's Beloshen Shaila, lo Yachrech Ramiyat Tzedai. Will a Ramai not be able to benefit, roast the thing that he caught? He surely will be able to. What does that mean? What does it mean? You're supposed to be like a Ramai. You're not supposed to be a cheater. You're supposed to be sharp and shrewd and cunning when you gather Torah. And this is how it works. It's a mushal for a trapper who's trapping birds. If as he catches each bird, he breaks its wing so that it cannot fly away, then he'll be able to retain what he caught. So it's not speaking about someone that's dishonest. Speaking about a shrewd operator who knows how to reinforce what he caught so that he can keep it. So too, when someone learns Torah, as he learns each little bit, he has to chazer it to make sure that it'll stick with him, and then he'll be like this clever trapper that whatever he catches will remain with him. Amar Rab, Amar B'Schair, Amar B'Huna. My dichsiv, hoin mehevel yimat, great wealth from nonsense will be diminished and lost. The koivitz al yad yarba, but someone who gathers a little by little, one hand at a time, he's going to eventually build wealth. Like Rob Ford used to always say, if you watch the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Zok the Gemara, a person just chaps and learns too much, so we're dashing hevel to hevel. So if someone takes too many bundles of Torah, he just grabs too much and he's learning here, learning there, but he's not focused and reviewing, then mismite, he's going to end up forgetting it. But if you take a little bit at a time, you bite off a little bit at a time, and then you chew it, and you absorb it, but then if you do it slowly and you learn a little bit in chazer and review and then learn a little more, then you'll be matzliach. Amarava, Yodi Rabbanan lahamilsa. The Rabbanan know that you're supposed to know a little bit at a time, not grab too much and learn all over the place and then forget. But for Avri Allah, but they don't listen to it. Amar Nachman Bayitok Ana Avadata. I did what the Gemara says you should do and learn a little by little. The kind be that. And Lamaisa, it worked for me. I learned a little by little. I followed the rules. And Baruch Hashem, I understand. I know a lot of Torah. Tanarban. Keitad Seder Mishnah. How was it? How did it go down when Moshe Rabbeinu was teaching the Klal Yisrael? How exactly did it go down? It's a very interesting Gemara. Moshe learned everything directly from the Rebbeinu Shalom. Then what happened was, Nichnas Aaron came in to his tent, and Moshe Rabbeinu was going to now share what he learned with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Nichnas Aaron, V'shanalai Moshe Perkoi. So far, Moshe learned it twice. He went once with the Rebbeinu Shalom and once with Aaron. Nistalik Aaron, V'yoshav l'smoil Moshe. Then Aaron went and sat on Moshe's left side, and now Nichnasu Vanav, the children of Aaron HaKohen came in, V'shana lehem Moshe Perkon, and then Moshe taught them again. So now Moshe has learned it his third time. He learned it from Hashem, he learned it with Aaron, and now he learned it with Aaron's children. Stalku Vanav, then his children went, Elazar Yoshev Limin Moshe, Elazar sat on the right side of Moshe, V'yisamer l'smoil Aaron, and Yisamer sat on the left side of Aaron. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, La'olam Aaron liyamin. Aaron always said, liyamin Moshe. La'olam Aaron liyamin Moshe. Aaron goes to the right side of Moshe. And Rashi says, that doesn't mean L'chtchila he didn't go to the left side. It means after. No, he only went to the left side because there would have been no one sitting on Aaron's left, on Moshe's left. But after Aaron's children came, Elazar and Yisamar, then Aaron picked himself up and moved over to the right side of Moshe. Then Nichnasu Zakanim, V'shana lehem Moshe Perkon. Then the Zakanim came in, and Moshe taught the same thing to the Zakanim. So now it's the fourth time that Moshe Rabbeinu went over it. It's the third time he went over it. It's the fourth. He looked at it from Hashem once, and he's already given it over 3 times. Then his Dalku Zakanim, the Zakanim left, and Nichnasu Kol Ha'am, V'shana lehem Moshe Perkon. And then Moshe told everybody else. So now let's think about it. Nimtu b'yad Aaron Arba means Aaron heard it 4 times. B'yad Bonav Shloisha, his children heard it 3 times from Moshe. B'yad Zakanim Shnayim, the Zakanim heard Moshe Rabbeinu repeat it twice. B'yad Kol Ha'am Echad, and everybody else only heard it once. Then Nistalek Moshe left the press conference. V'shana and Aaron Pirkei. And then Aaron once again repeated the whole limud. So now everybody got it one more time. Then Nistalak Aaron. Then Shana and Bonav Pirkei. Then Aaron's children said over the Torah again. Nistalku Bonav. Then Aaron's children left. And Shana and Zakanim Pirkei. And the Zakanim then reviewed for Klal Yisrael the whole limud. Nimsa b'yad HaKoil Arba. So it comes out that every single person had it taught to them or had it reviewed it 4 times. Mikan Omer Rabbi Eliezer, Chayiv Odom l'shanis l'talmidoi arba upon. A person needs to teach everything to his Talmud 4 times. The Kal V'chomer. That's Kal V'chomer. Uma Aaron shalomed mipi Moshe u'Moshe mipi Agvura kach Madech Aaron who learned from Moshe and Moshe learned from the Rebbeinu Shalom. He had to do it 4 times. Hedjit mipi Hedjit. Nowadays, where everyone's a Hedjit, anyone besides Moshe and Aaron, Alachas Kama V'Kama needs to review it at least 4 times. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Minayin Shechayiv.
The Zichru program does a 4 block every day, a 4 block Chazara. It's interesting.
Oh, so it's based on that. So the Zichru program seems to incorporate everything we learned here. We learned you have to make simonim. We learned you have to chazer. So it has all the ingredients. So it's not new. It's based on a bona fide, proven strategy that the Gemara tells us. Okay, very good.
Yosy, I'd like to point out that Elazar and Tamar are the 3rd and 4th children. That means none of an Avihu had died already. Does that mean? Yeah. So they died at the Chanukas HaMishkan. So Moshe Rabbeinu didn't teach Torah until Chanukas HaMishkan. He was down from Har Sinai. The Mishkan was dedicated on the 1st of Nisan. Moshe Rabbeinu came down when? Came down.
The last time he came was Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur, right? So that's what, a 6-month period almost? He didn't teach Torah to the Bnei Israel for 6 months?
Very interesting. When did Nadav and Avihu die?
At the Chanukas HaMishkan, which was on the 1st of Nisan.
So that was 6 months later from when he came down with the Torah.
Right.
Interesting. I hear it. I don't know. So go to Ora. What happened? How come? What happened in those 6 months? And why did you mention it? I hear. Very interesting.
Okay. Well, you had to give him some time to teach Aaron, and then you had to give some time to teach the Bono. Maybe they did start, and by the time they finished and they went to go in their sitting order, it was already past the 6-month period. So they didn't have to have a seat.
Or maybe the Gemara is referring to what happened most of the time.
But it only tells you where they sat at the point of the stalku, right? I guess Moshe was teaching, and then once they became like sort of the assistant Rebbe, then they took a seat beside Moshe Rabbeinu. Otherwise, they were sitting. Nistalik
doesn't mean die.
No. I meant finish. No, but when they finished learning, so they were elevated to the level of assistant Rebbe as opposed to Talmud.
I hear. Okay, so let's see the Gemara right there. The Kama. I'm sorry. Kiva Omer. Minayin shechayiv odam l'shanois l'talmudai ad shilandenu. How do you know that a Rebbe has a responsibility to teach someone until he understands, until he absorbs it? Shenemar. You have to teach them. It's not enough for you just to give the lesson. You have to explain it until they got it. How do you know it's not enough that you should get it? They have to actually get clarity. How do you know that you have to continue to explain it to them? Rashi explains, don't just make sure they know the what. You have to make sure they know the why as well. Don't say they know the what. Now let them go figure out the why. No. You have to sit and explain to them the why as well. You have to literally put it in front of them. So now the Gemara goes back. Why couldn't Moshe teach everybody 4 times? Why did it have to be in this level, in this type of bureaucracy type of system? So tomorrow it's kedei lachla kavod la'aron u'badov, the kavod l'zkenim. This is so that each one of these groups of people, Aaron and his children and his zkenim, should also have kavod, so they should also be teaching Klal Yisrael. And that's why Moshe didn't teach everybody. In fact, tomorrow v'neil Aaron v'nigmar Moshe. Let Aaron come and learn it from Moshe, And then once Moshe taught Aaron, Moshe could go, V'la'alu banov v'ligmum Aaron, and let Aaron teach his sons. Why did Moshe have to teach them at least one time? So tomorrow, note there's something very important about Moshe giving it over. Even the Moshe Vura Gomar, since Moshe heard it directly from the Rebbeinu Shalom, Mistaya Milsa, it was important that he should at least one time explain it directly to Klal Yisrael, so there's no broken telephone. So once Moshe Rabbeinu, at least once, explained it to Klal Yisrael, the Chazar was able to be delegated to the Bnei Aaron, the Bnei Aaron, and the Zakanim. Aaron always went back to the right side of Moshe. So tomorrow, who is the following brisa going according to? If there are three people that are walking, it's appropriate that the Rav amongst them should be in the middle. The Gadol b'yaminai, the greatest one should be on this right side. The Katan b'smailai, and the lesser person should be on the left side. Say this is going according to Rabbi Yehuda, not to Rabbanan, because Rabbi Yehuda was the one who said that Aaron went back to the Yamin Moshe, and the Rabbanan don't say that. The Rabbanan seem to say that Aaron stayed where he was. So tomorrow, feel Tim Rabbanan, even if you hold like the Rabbanan, but Mishum Tircha the Aaron. Sure, if there was two people originally there, Aaron would go to the Yamin Moshe. But since at the beginning there was no one else there, so Aaron went to the Smoil Moshe. Now that more people came, it's a tircha for Aaron to have to get up and relocate. So since it's a tircha to Aaron to relocate, we don't make him relocate. So Rashi, the Mitchila, the Yochid Hava, when Aaron was the only one there with Moshe, Loisagu, the Lavla Small Yosef. It would be, it should be, the right thing is that he should sit on Moshe's left side. And once other people come, so that Aaron would be able to move to the right side, it's a tircha for Aaron to get up and move to the yamin. I don't. Maybe I'm missing something obvious. I'm not sure why, if no one was else there, Aaron should be on Moshe's left rather than on Moshe's right. I don't know the reason for that. If anybody can help me.
Because then Moshe would be on the left.
So Moshe has to be sitting on the right. Very opposite. Perfect, yeah. If there's only two people, Avada Moshe should be on the right, which by default pushes Aaron to the left. Once there's someone else there, Aaron could have moved. I pray that Havilei Hahu Talmida. Dubi's practical approach.
One second. Who's right? I know this sounds silly, but who's right?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. If you're facing them, then he is on the right. And if you're sitting beside him.
No, it's not. I mean, to me, it would be there's no one in front of them. It's just where they are, where they're positioned based on their perspective.
And why is it so important who sits where? Is that such an issue? You know, they're sitting beside each other. It's two people.
We just went through a month of seating arrangements in the Aguda, and you're going to ask me about who's important where to sit.
I don't know who's right, but I know who's on first.
Okay.
He had a Talmud. He used to teach him everything 400 times. The Gomar. And that's how he understood it. One day, his Rebbe was invited to be samdik by a bris. He had a mitzvah he had to attend to. But that didn't stop him. He still learned with his Talmud 400 times, tonally. But for Gomer, his Talmud didn't chap it. Every day, his Talmud chapped it after 400 times. And this time, even though he did it 400 times, he didn't chap it. So pray to ask his Talmud, what's up is today you're having more difficulty understanding the lesson. It's very simple. The moment the driver came in and said, I'm here to pick you up, to take you to the bris, I was already worried, now my Rebbe's going to be in a rush. And he's probably not going to be able to stay long enough to explain it to me 400 times. I'm not going to get it. So because of that, he was distracted from the fear that his Rebbe might have to leave before he gets clarity. And therefore, schoy l'daitoi. V'chol shaita amina hashta koimar. Hashta koimar. I kept thinking, okay, now he's going to get up to go. Now he's going to get up to go. And because of that, I wasn't focused. So Rav Preda told him, you know what? Let's do this all over again. Driver, you're going to have to wait. Uber charges how many cents a minute? Whatever it is. I got to stay and explain it to my Talmud. Sit, focus, and we'll do it all over again. And then he explained it 400 times all over again. And at that point, Nafka Baskala, a Baska came out from Shemayim, for Amalei and told him, we're giving you a choice. Nichalech, what would you rather? Would you like to lisfulach dalad me'ah shani? Will add 400 years to your life? Or would you rather the tisku at vidorach la'amadasi? You and your entire generation, because of this mitzvah that you did, you'll all be zachet to Amar, he said, the nisku ana vidori la'amadasi. I'd rather be zoicha me and my entire generation to Olam Haba. Amar Lena Kodesh Baruch Hu said, Amar Lena Kodesh Baruch Hu tanu lo zu v'zu. You know what? Give him both. So that means if he's going to live to 400, he can't retire so fast anymore because he's got to accumulate enough wealth to last him 400 years. But he had both brachas. Is it? So it says, I mean, according to the Gemara, it said they're afraid to live 400 years. Amar Chisda, Ein Torah. Niknas ala b'simonim. Like Mechi mentioned earlier, the Zikr program, Torah cannot be niknas unless you have simonim, little memory aids that'll help you understand it. Shenemar, it says sima b'fiyam, al Turkey sima ela simna. So again, we're modifying the word a little bit to create our understanding. Simna b'fiyam, if there's a simin on learning to help you remember things, then the learning will last. Shomer of Techlifa Mimayrava. Am I reading this right? Or maybe Simna Shama. I want to make sure I'm not reading this wrong. So let's see what it says over here.
You got it right, Shema.
No, I got it right. Yeah. So when he heard this, Shomer of Techlifa Mimayrava, also Amr made the Rebavo, and he told Rebavo this Kabbalah Bechap that you're supposed to create memory aids. Omar, you learn it from that pasuk that you need memory aids. Anam, we learn this Yosy from a different pasuk. It says, I like this pasuk. Hatzivilach tsiyunim similach. Establish for yourself and make signs for you. And we learn there, asu tziyonim l'Torah. You need to make tziyonim in order to be able to understand Torah. It means tsiyunim. You have to make little aids, little markers, so that we should remember the Torah. How do you know that a tzion means a simon? It comes back around to Akiva. It's all about the monuments. We call a monument a tzion because really its primary function is to identify for people that there's a mace here, there's tum over here. So you see the word tzion is a marker to help us understand. So in our language, it could refer to a highlighting marker. A lot of people, when they want to remember things, they use a highlighting marker. So that can be called a tzion. Tell wisdom, you're my sister. And Vina, you should consider them a relative. You should consider them close to you. Asein moidim l'Torah. Make moidim. Moidim, they're simonim, they're memory aids. There's things to help you remember them, to understand them. That's one shot. Rav Amar asay mo'adam l'Torah. And Rashi says, kavu itim talmidechem sheyedu eislav v'l'shalos. You have to make up special time. You shouldn't just sit in the bishmeders and let people come ask you shilos. You have to organize specific times where you're going to learn specific siddur to learn, and that's how Torah will have a kiyum. My dichsiv loy b'shemayim. Torah is not b'shemayim, but loy me'eber liyami, and it's not across the mountain. Loy b'shemayim she'im b'shemayim at a tzar halal zacharah. Even if it wasn't shemayim, you're responsible to go find some way to access it. Rav Amar loy b'shemayim we dash differently. Like Timsa b'misha makbia daite aleh k'shemayim. You're not going to find Torah by someone whose head is up in the heavens. He thinks he's who knows what. And you're not going to find it by somebody who thinks that his knowledge is vast. Someone who's full of himself, he's someone who's not going to be able to be kind a lot of Torah. Means like Timsa Begase Ruach, you're not going to find it by Balagaiba, you're not going to find it by merchants and by peddlers, because they're always moving around. And like we learned earlier, that the Torah has to be like a necklace, meaning sometimes it's out, but more often than not, it's concealed. Sachradim and Tagorim are always out there busy pursuing a livelihood. They're not going to be able to have full success in Torah unless people are more focused on spending time in the Bismillah. Okay, now we're getting back to Maseches Eruvin. So Zot Tehillah Gemara. Tan Rabban, Keitad Ma'avrin Esarim. So just to refresh our memories, we learned that when you're measuring the perimeter of the city, you take the point. When you want to know where to measure the wall from, you take the point of the wall that protrudes the most, you draw a line from that point that's parallel to the wall, and that's the city limit. So any little point of the wall that sticks out pushes the city limit out by that amount. So Ketam Avizar, Arucha Kamoishi, if it's long, leave it the way it is, meaning if it's rectangular, let it stay rectangular. However, Agula, if the city is round, then then you make it corners. So if there's a circle, if the city is like a circle, you transcribe a square around it, and that will be the city limits. So you benefit the four corners that got added on to the perimeter of the city. Murabas, what if it's square? Then then it's good just the way it is. And the Gemara is going to explain what's the chiddush of that. What if it was what if eastern wall was 3 miles, but the western walls of the city was only 2 miles? So it's an unusual type of shape, and we have it here in the side of Rashi. The northern wall here is showing to be longer than the southern wall. So the look is roy noisa kilu shava. You fill it in, you look at it as if both walls are the same length, and this little extra area is also considered part of the perimeter of the city. What if one house was sticking out of the city, like this picture here, or or if 2 houses are sticking out? And the Gemara should ask, if one house makes you extend the perimeter of the city, for sure 2 houses will. But the Gemara is going to deal with that later. If there's a house sticking out, you take an imaginary plumb line and you run it parallel to the wall of the city, but far out past the point where this little house stuck out. And then you get 2,000 amas from there. What about Keshes? What if the entire city was in the shape of a crescent? So we'll just look over here at the ArtScroll's picture. This was actually the shape of the city. It was a very interesting shape of a city. So what if this was the shape of the city, or it was L-shaped, so there's dead space in between the 2 walls of the U. So or like a 90-degree angle. You look at the inside of the U as if it was totally filled up. And then you get 2,000 amas from there, because the city limit will be, the city will include all the area from within the U. So now we're going to analyze the brisa that we just quoted. Arucha kamoishahi. The first thing the brisa said, yes.
So the arch, if you look at it, is kind of like half of a circle. So if we extend a whole circle to squares, to like make a square around it, why don't we do the same for an arch?
Right. So you on the back side, you do that. Yeah, on the back side, you actually do include it.
You do?
You do.
Okay.
The Gemara is going to discuss that later. But what we're discussing now is the area in here that's also included.
Well, that's obvious, no?
This is you know what the name of the city is, McDonald's.
Or it's St. Louis, but
Uh-huh.
isn't it obvious that the area inside where the letter A is, that's the city itself? So why would it not be? I don't understand. Or am I
No,
missing something?
the drawing, the black line here. This isn't the wall. This is the houses. This is the neighborhoods.
Oh,
This
so
is
the
empty
area
field.
inside is empty.
Correct.
Okay.
Somehow the city grew in a weird way in the shape of a U.
Okay. Sure.
And maybe this was the what's it called, the Oak Ridges Moraine. The provincial government didn't let anyone build there.
It could be on the side of a mountain, you know, it goes in a,
Oh, and the Gedam, but that doesn't bash the liberals. So I don't like that shot. I like a shot that I can bash the liberals with. Okay, Zot Hele Gemara. So the Gemara wants to know what is the first thing of Arucha Kamoshehi. Pshita, it's a rectangle. Why would you make any change to it? So it's a long rectangle. You might think that you have to square it off, meaning you extend if it's, let's say, if it's a mile wide by 5 amos long, you might think that you extend the city and you make it 5 amos wide by 5 amos long, and you make it into an imaginary larger square. You might think you do that. Kamash no, that you don't do that. And if it's rectangular, that's fine. You leave it rectangular. Mirubas, ain't if it's square, you don't add corners to it. Pshita, of course not. It's a square already. Sure, it's a square, but the problem is the walls don't run with the normal axes. So you don't have a northwest wall. You don't have a north-south wall. And an east-west wall, rather the city orientation is on an angle. Maybe one wall is running northwest. There's two parallel walls that are running northwest, and there might be two parallel walls that are running northeast. And that's how they created that square. So you might think that if the city itself is positioned not with its walls parallel to the axes, you might think that you have to create a big square around it that would make it parallel to the axes. Kamash Malon, not. Kamash Malon, that you don't do that. Any square is fine no matter what position it's in. Zok Gemara weiter. Hoye base echad yoytze kemin pogum oy shnei batim yoytzem kemin shnei pogum. Fragt the Gemara. Hashta base echad amrut. If only one house is sticking out, we say we push the limit of the city out to where that pogum extended out to, shnei batim iboy. So for sure, if you have two houses sticking out, you would extend the wall. We're not speaking about two houses sticking out of the same wall. That's about the push it, because even one house sticking out of a wall would push the wall out. What if on the eastern wall you had a house sticking out, and on the western wall you had a house sticking out? You might think, yeah, we'll extend the city a little bit if one house is sticking out. But if on both sides there are houses sticking out, to extend it on both sides, that you can't do, Kamash Mulan, that you'll even extend all four walls of the city out if it has something protruding out of it. Okay, now, Hois Asui Kimikeshes. The shape of the city was in the shape of a U, of a bow. Oikim game, or it's L shape. So the lot is Roy Noisa, Ki Iluhi Malaya Bottom V'Chatzeris. You look at it as if it's completely full. And then from the edge of it you measure 2,000 amos. So just to be clear, if this is the U, you put the string across from here to here, and then you have 2,000 amos moving out from here, because this is considered the virtual wall of the city. So Zok to Gemara, Amar Avuna, Ir ha'asuya kekeshes. If you have a city that's made of keshes, it's not as simple as what we explained, that no matter what its dimensions are, you just close in the U and then that's your wall. Rather, if when you measure across the U, so if from here to here there's less than 4,000 amas, meaning if you extend the top of this wall 2,000 amas, it's sort of connected, then moididima mina yeser. Then you'll actually put the wall there and say this is the outer wall. But vimlav moidin mina keshes. But if it's more than 4,000 amas from here to here, then you cannot extend the virtual wall across. Rather, you keep on measuring from end to end, and when you're within 4,000, when this end is within 4,000 amas of this end, that's where you put your imaginary wall, and that's where you measure from, and you just consider it like these two are additional walls of the city. But at the end of the day, the imaginary wall we're going to put at a maximum distance of 4,000 amas. Frank Gemara, when we Omar Rav Huna say that up to a breach of 4,000 amas, you can consider it connected. But Omar Rav Huna, what if you had a wall, a city that had a wall, it had 4 walls all the way around it, and there was a breach in the wall? So the halacha is b'meya v'arboim v'achas u'shlish. It's 141 and a third amas is the amount. If there's such an opening in the wall, that breaks the city open. So how could you say that up to 4,000 amas we can consider it closed? You see from Rav Huna that it's 141 and a third amma. That's the cutoff. There's a huge difference between the two. When did Rav Huna say that if a small breach of 141 and a third amma is there, it separates the city? That's if it's cut through on both sides. So it's totally separating these two cities. Here, on this side, it's completely closed. It's only on one side, on the open side, that we have a breach. There you can go up to 4,000 amas. Now, where does this weird number of 141 and a third come from? So that comes from, we learned something very interesting. We learned that past every city, there's something called the migrash. And remember we said if there's a hut every 71 and a half amas or so, if there's a hut there, that extends the city limits. So that's what it is. A migrash is a part of the city that's outside the city, but it's still considered a supporting area to the city. As long as there's a hut there, it connects it. We once learned that if there's a series of huts between two cities that are far apart, you'll even allowed to go from one city to the next. We had a case where someone came to learn on Shabbos from very far away, and he said the reason why I came is because there were huts every 70 amas, and therefore it extends the limits of both cities to join. So the reason why the pirza that Rav Huna refers to as a maximum of 141 and a third, because that would, if it was less than that, then the migrash, now that the city was severed because the wall broke straight through, each would still have the migrash. So if each city has a 72 and a half amas, those two areas would overlap and they would continue to be joined. But if they're so far apart that even if you give each side its migrash, they still don't touch, then they're separated. So that's where Rav Huna's number came from. Kamash Malam, I'm sorry, it's Kamish Teruchas. So figure my Kamash Malam, what's the Chiddush? The Noisni and Karfa Flazu, the Karfa Flazu. So the Chiddush of Rav Huna is that you have 141 and a third amma because each side gets to have its 70 amas, 70 and something amas. So if they overlap, the cities are joined. Is that the whole Chiddush that Rav Huna is telling us? Ha'amar Rav Huna Chadazivna. Rav Huna has already told us this halacha, because Rav Huna told us, we're going to have to stop soon, we'll just finish this here. Rav Huna told us, nois and karfa fla'ir. You give every city a karfa, the mayor, the chamar meloyam or karfa, you only give a karfa, elben shtei yoris. The only time you give a karfa is if there's two cities and through the karfa, if you could join them, then you have that extra amas. But if it's a city by itself, that's not connected to any other city, not near any other city, you don't give it the karfa. The itmar, and on this machlokas Rav Huna commented, Vidmar Rav Huna Amar, karfa flazu, the karfa flazu. You get 70 amas on both cities. Not shot if the two cities are within 70 amas, we let you carry from one to the next. Each city gets its karfa, each city gets its 71 and a half amas or so, and therefore if they're within 141 and a half of each other, then you can carry from one city to the next. The two cities would have to be within 72 amas of each other. So why did Rav Huna have to tell us the halacha that each side gets its 70 amas, or 70 plus a little bit amas? Rav Huna already said this in the machloikas that he had with Reb Chia. So more tricha. The Yashmin hacha. If he only told us over here, in the case where the cities were joined and then the wall broke, the reason why he gives you so much space is because before the walls broke, this was one big city. So therefore, we give you more leeway up to 141 and a third amas of space in between, and we still consider them connected. Abul Hazim, where there's two independent cities, a maloi, maybe you wouldn't consider them connected unless they're closer to each other. And if it only told us by the two independent cities that you have 140 amas, not 70 amas, it's mishum de tashmisayu, because two cities, each city needs space to operate. So it's logical to say that each one has a 70 amas. It's going to be too congested there. But this was once upon a time one city. When there was one city, it was completely filled in, and there was clearly no problem with space. You might think that you don't give him 140, you only give him 70. Shricha, Kamash Malon, Rabuna, both things. The Kamahava ben Yesher Lakeshes, what's the maximum amount of space you can have between the virtual wall that you make at the end of the U, or if you made the virtual wall closer into the U because the two walls are too far apart. Rabbi Barfun Amar Alpai Mama, he says 2,000 amas, and Rabbi Bered Rabbi Barfun Amar Afilu Yeshua Me Alpai Mama, even more than 2,000 amas. So this child over here is if you're looking at the U, what time? It's very, very late already. We have one left, so I'll go very quickly. If you're looking at the U, since if these two areas are going to be 4,000 amas apart, we said you have to move the string or the line further in where there's less than 4,000 amas here. So the question is, how far in could you move it before you're going to have a problem that it's not going to work? So on that, the Gemara says 2,000 amas. You're allowed to move it up to 2,000 amas in. Let me just see what we are. And so how much space can you have in between those two areas? Up to 2,000 amas. That even if it's more than 2,000 amas, the boy hadar also derech batim, because even if it's more than 2,000 amas, he can still get from one end to the next end. He doesn't have to walk across. He can walk through the city and walk around. So since he can get there anyway, therefore, we will allow him even if it's more than 2,000 amas. I guess we can stop here because we are running a little bit late. So when are we going to learn Matzah Yom Tov? Does 9 o'clock work? I guess we'll do it for 9 o'clock Matzah Yom Tov. Whoever is able to